oh my God, this is a lot. I had to really get it under control and just dampen it. But the more you train, the more I went and showed up, the more disciplined I was, the more I'd fight. I was like, all right, I've got this under control now. Just a message of encouragement, you know, just go out there and do what you need to do for the things that you're trying to do. Don't let the thoughts manifest for too long. You got to get on top of them. And by doing that, you have to take action. But there were times I was just so dialed in, and that just basically eradicated fear for that particular fight.
All people are afraid. Being afraid is a very normal, healthy thing. If an individual were not afraid, I would have to send them to a psychiatrist to find out what was wrong.
All right, good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Really appreciate it every single time. Shout out to all the subscribers. Gratitude to anybody new. Thank you very much. Welcome along. This video, another really important one. I say that in almost every video because I really truly feel like they all are very important, especially for your progression, you know, you as a beginner. This video and these videos are targeting beginners, but this video is going to be about psychology and fear and how you can tackle your fear and how you can understand what fear is. And actually, you know, the more that you let it manifest, the harder it is going to be to overcome. And the quicker you try to challenge it and do the things and apply yourself to actually control that fear, the better you will be. Now, I'm going to leave some excerpts from Cus D Amato, who was Mike Tyson's trainer. He's a legendary boxing trainer, and he was massively deep into psychology. Really got into the mind of fighters and made them believe, you know, they were superhuman beings basically. And a lot of that was, you know, down to his approaches. But, you know, one of the things he used to speak about was fear.
All people are afraid. Being afraid is a very normal, healthy thing. If an individual were not afraid, I would have to send them to a psychiatrist to find out what was wrong.
And I'll bring some clips in, you know, I don't want to paraphrase too much because I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically he was saying it's a natural thing. Nature
gave us fear in order to survive. And of course, fear is our best friend.
Right? It's natural for human beings to have fear. It's a little windy out here. It's not even 6:30 in the morning, so the weather looks nice, but it's a little windy and a little choppy, so hopefully my phone stays up. But as I was saying, it's natural for human beings to have fear.
Being afraid is a very normal, healthy thing.
All right, and he said if you didn't have fear, he would think there was something wrong with you and take you to a psychiatrist, like I don't know, some sort of psychotic or psychopathic, you know. But it's how you control fear is what's going to make you a better person, definitely a much better boxer, or anything better that you're trying to do in your life, you know, try to get to where you're going or what the challenges that you have to face. And I'm going to talk to you about how I faced some of my challenges, and that's why I'm making this video as well, because I understand what he's talking about, you know, very much so.
Without fear, we would all die. We'd do something foolish or stupid, which would cause our death or being crippled.
Because Cus D Amato compared fear to fire, right?
Fear is something which has to be controlled. I always compare it to fire.
You can either let it burn something down, or you can get it under control and use it to, you know, your massive advantages.
Fear, like fire, must be controlled. And once it gets out of control, like fire, it can destroy everything around. Not only the individual, but everything around. But once you control fear like fire, you can make it work for you.
Because having fear, as he said, is a natural thing. And, you know, I remember, you know, when I first started boxing, I didn't really think about signing up to the gym. And actually, there was somebody on here a few weeks ago, maybe you're listening now, and shout out to you. He was kind of said he was a little afraid of going to a gym. And I was like, look, you know, a lot of the stuff, the mental stuff that we build up in our head usually isn't anywhere near as bad as what it actually is. And that's definitely true. So whatever you're thinking about, you know, signing up to the gym or what gyms are like or what it's going to be, it's probably nowhere near as bad. In fact, it definitely isn't. So, but that's a good example of how fear can just manifest and control you, where you have to be the one that controls the fear. Now, how do you do that? Another good question. Try and get in some better light here. It's you know, it's a beautiful day, but sometimes the light gets so shadowed from you know, all the trees and stuff that it doesn't really beam down on me like I'd like it to, because it's so early. But anyway, how do you use it and control it, and basically not let it control you, right? I can only speak from experience, and first of all, you have to meet it head on, right? These are just my opinions and my personal experience of how I grew and how I was able to get fear under control, because I was definitely fearful. You know, I went to the boxing gym, I just hit Google on the map and just went right there. I wasn't that fearful about going to the gym, I'll be totally honest. I had a little trepidation, but that wasn't the biggest battle. I had to, you know, fight every day almost. Sparring matches were violent, man. Back in New York in like 2011, I had some rough sparring. I really did, and that was just my life. It was like I'd show up to the gym. My trainer, Jihad Abdul Aziz, like a father figure to me. I actually met up with him this past few days.
So you have options to roll. After that, there's only a few buttons that you can roll. After 1, 2, upper side, you go to hook. And you have to get it, that's right. Right, exactly, yeah.
And we hit the pads. I've got a bit of work to do. You know, I haven't been hitting the pads so much. I was a little off. The timing was a bit off, as expected, because I hadn't really done it for years.
Right here.
But it gave me the motivation to get better and better, because that's what this channel is about, being the best version you can be. And I wanted to get much better on the pads and much better just training and stuff like that. But you know, I was thrown into the wolves really, and I had to deal with fear on a daily basis. There were times where I would walk to the gym and I was thinking, I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to, you know, spar this guy and fight, and you know, it was just mini moments like that where I just had to conquer it and go, you know what, that's not gonna serve me whatsoever. I have to go and do this. And I never backed down from any challenge or any spar, and that was what was helping me conquer the fear. Not to mention the training, not to mention the self-discipline, not to mention all the preparation that you do, whether it be the discipline about living healthily whilst you're training. You know, if you cut corners, and I didn't really, there was one fight that I had where I went home for Christmas, and you know, the timing of it all, and you know, I might have eaten a little bit too much, or had a couple more beers than normal. You know, I'm normally not like that whatsoever, but that really messed with my head, and that made me not get in control of my fear as much, because I knew I hadn't really given 100%. It was very high, I trained quite hard, but there was just these little things. I was like, And I've heard fighters do that just recently. You know, Dave Allen, a fighter, just won on the weekend. He said his diet was like 40% garbage. But it is what it is. But the point I'm trying to make is, you do all the right things from a preparation point, and I'll tell you a story about one of my fights that I had, right? My third fight, amateur fight. And on this channel too, I'm not here trying to proclaim that I was like an amazing boxer, because I was actually not a very good boxer to start out with. I was a good fighter. I had a lot of spirit, I had a lot of power, but man, you could box my head off, because I was not the brightest, right? But I was tenacious. But it took me a long time to really discover my boxing skills now, and I haven't fought for a long time, so I don't even know, excuse the helicopter, I don't even know how good or bad of a boxer I am in an actual fighting amateur fight. You know, I probably think I'm pretty good, but after hitting the pads and realizing how out of it you are, you know, I'm no spring chicken either. But you know, I know that if there was an assignment to be made, I'd be right there going full on, and I would give it my absolute all, and probably do a lot better than I'm saying now. But my point I'm trying to make is preparation, discipline, not even motivation, it's discipline. All these things that tick the boxes that you're ticking. Are you showing up training? Are you leaving the gym knowing you didn't do anything you could have done more? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you staying out of trouble outside of the gym? Are you doing the road work? Are you doing all these things? All those things build up your mentality, which help you conquer fear, right? This is very important, because one of the fights I had, right, it was my third fight. I trained as hard as I can ever remember in anything. I was just a savage in training, sparring. I was going in, I was getting some top sparring. I used to spar with guys that had 10 fights plus, right? Amateur fights, and I had none at the time. And my trainer was throwing me in the deep end, you know, because I could fight. I could fight. I couldn't box that well, but I could fight. So I was always in the mix a little bit, but I'd always get my ass kicked. But I was always there. But I was like, the third fight in, I got to the gym, and you know, the weigh-in, it's like usually at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and everybody's there getting weighed in. You don't know who you're fighting, right? And I walked into the room like you could have put Godzilla in front of me and I'd have believed I could win. I was that confident, and I mean that. Thankfully, Godzilla didn't show up. But my point is, I was ready to take on anybody, because I just conquered fear so much. I put myself through the darkest training camps. I'd worked so hard. I'd sparred everybody. I was training like a maniac 1-2 times a day, plus road work, which, you know, for an amateur back in there, twice a day is quite a lot. And it wasn't every day, but there were times I was just so dialed in, and that just basically eradicated fear for that particular fight. Now, I don't think you can ever eradicate fear. You look at professional boxers now, they get a little nervous, and that's a good thing, but you just have to get it under control. But I went in there, my trainer was there, Jihad. I barely even said hi to him. That's how dark of a mode I was in. I kind of like said, "What's up?" And I was just ready for that bell to go to take somebody's head off, you know, because I'd put myself in that situation where fear wasn't even discussed, you know, it was beneath me. So point of this channel, point of this video is to help you understand, don't let the thoughts manifest for too long. You got to get on top of them, and by doing that you have to take action and apply yourself and meet the fear head on most of the time. Prepare yourself, do the things that you need to do to eradicate that fear. If you do nothing and let it control you and let it manipulate and, you know, bamboozle your mind, you've lost. You have to get it under control, whatever it be, you know, whatever you're trying to do. The more you think about it and the more less action you take and the more less preparation you take, you're doomed. So anyway, that's it from me. Just a message of encouragement, you know, just go out there and do what you need to do for the things that you're trying to do, you know, but go full on, meet it full on. And, you know, I'm sure most of the time these things that you're built up in your head don't even come to play. And then you'll be able to gain so much confidence from achieving these little wins, you know, as I keep saying. And then fear, you'll slowly get it under control, right? Because there was a time where, like, you know, with all the sparring, I was just like, oh my God, this is a lot. I had to really get it under control and just dampen it. But the more you train, the more I went and showed up, the more disciplined I was, the more I'd fight. I was like, all right, I've got this under control now. Okay, cool. So, message to you. Get your fear under control. Don't let it control you. Control it by applying yourself and going out there and meeting it head on. That's my advice anyway. Look, it's getting a bit chilly out here. Hopefully I'll get this up in the next hour. I hope you guys have an amazing week. It's Monday today. Be the best version you can possibly be. If you're new to the channel, smash the like button, hit the subscribe. This is not just a boxing channel. This is for self-love, self-motivation, self-discipline. That's the big one right there. And pretty soon I'm going to be doing a membership where I can actually reach out to some members and help them personally in their life, whether it be training, whether it be health, whether it be diet, whether it be fitness, whether it be psychology, whether it be whatever it is. I'm here to help. Anyway, peace, love, Henry, I'm out.
On the edge.